the Fantasy Football Tips Podcast with Mills, JP, Quigliarno, and Cliff.
Hi, you're listening to FantasyFootballTips.co, the podcast in association with Premier Punt, the home of daily fantasy football betting. It's Gameweek 3. My name is Mills, and I'm joined this week on a Skype podcast by Quigliarno and JP. Hello, gents.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello there.
Oh, he's
Hello
there.
there, Mills.
A very echoey Quigliarno today. Where are you calling in from?
In the kitchen, mate.
Oh,
Abs are
right.
made in the kitchen, so I'm sitting in the kitchen waiting for them to appear.
Just keeping it real today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. And no Cliff this week. I think he's been scared off by his one bit of bad feedback on Twitter.
Well, I think it's a positive thing because I've heard he's seen a counsellor to try and overcome his anxiety. His wife, congratulations to Cliff, recently married. His wife found him in the airing cupboard having a panic attack the other day, so they've gone to sort it out. Fingers crossed he's going to make it back soon.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, hopefully, our best wishes with Cliff this week. I mean, his anxiety perhaps is rightfully there, because I think last week we had over 6,000 listeners. Well, not last week, sorry, the week before we had over 6,000 listeners. And on last week we didn't have a Game Week 2 podcast, did we? And the fans
got a bit
are
of
not
heat
happy.
for that, didn't you? Got a bit of heat there, Mills.
I got a lot of heat. It's there's been a bit of a backlash. I mean, even tonight, I've put it out there on Twitter to fire the questions over, and a very sarcastic response by Craig Cunningham. So you're doing one this week? I mean, come on.
Wow.
Well, you've got to deliver the goods, haven't you? You've given them a taste of the drug that is this podcast.
That's
and
right.
Now you're withholding it.
That's right. I mean, schedules just didn't align last week, unfortunately, did they? With two of us being on holiday. So it was
I was
tough.
there ready, mate. I was ready.
Well, like I said, you could have done a solo pod. More than happy with that. But
You're the media mogul. You are the media mogul.
Perhaps it has been said. Someone called me an entrepreneur today. Good old Nick's tricks. More on that later. But Quigliarno, you're not immune from this flack. You've been getting some yourself, haven't you?
Really?
Have you kept abreast of this?
You're going to have to update me. No, what's been said, mate?
Well, this is on FantasyFootballTips.co, and I can't even find the comment now. Oh, I think I deleted them actually. But someone called Quigliarno and someone called Quigliarno's dad was giving you a bit of stick. I mean, the fact that he's gone to the trouble of creating two fake accounts just to throw out some comments, but it was pretty much along the lines of he didn't want you on the podcast anymore.
Well, interesting thoughts. I mean, I did hear about somebody escaping from a mental hospital who is often leaving these sorts of comments. So hopefully he's mentally safe and secure, and I wish him all the best. And this is what happens when you become famous.
Well, this is the thing, and what they don't realise is that you actually feed off this, don't you?
Well, I mean, admittedly, I listen to I don't usually normally listen to these things back, but I listened to Game Week 1, and even I was like, God, that you need to tone that down. Have a word with yourself. But then actually, now I'm getting a bit of anger and a bit of hate for it. I quite like it. So yeah, I'm gonna turn it up another level.
Millsy, just
Yes.
to interrupt there, have we ruled out it definitely isn't actually Quigliarno's dad?
I don't know. That's a good point.
Could it
Did you
be
check
the
that,
father of
Quigliarno?
Quigliarno?
Well, that would be God himself, wouldn't it? So
Well, yeah, I mean, it would remind me of the Darth Vader kind of Luke Skywalker thing going on there. You know, good versus evil. I'm not going to say who's who, but wow.
Wow, indeed. Well, you know, we've just fed the ego a little bit more there. But JP, I think we've not heard much from you. How have things been your end?
Yeah, very good, except for the fact that I had at least 2, if not 3, sleepless nights over missing the podcast. That hurt me a lot, so apologise to the people out there. Yeah, it's been good on the whole, though. We've had a good start to the season. Overall, we're 3rd in the league. We're happy. Some good picks and some bad choices. Missed out on 1 or 2 players, but on the whole, Millsy, it's a pleasure to be here, and it's been a good start.
Good stuff. And I think our little mini league that we play privately, it's the quality's there, isn't it? You know, there's not a lot between us. The top sort of 8 or 9 positions, I think there's about 12 or 13 points. I think everyone's had a good start. Although I would say that I think a lot of people feel like they've had a good start. Quigliano thought, or JP thoughts?
Sorry, yeah. I mean, I think some of the kind of obvious players have done very well, haven't they? You know, so that's kind of been a slight, you know, some easy choices there this start of season so far. And I think that's why we've seen some big points. Like I think our average point was probably 60 to 70 this week, minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the players that you expect to do well, you know, your top 4 teams are doing well this year, whereas the season before they probably didn't do so well. So I suppose that's why you're seeing a better return this season.
I mean, I think you're missing a point as well. You know, if you surround yourself with greatness, then great things are going to happen. Now, I've obviously won this mini league for several years in a row now, and I think players have actually watched what I do. They've been taking notes and have become better managers from that. And that's the point of listening to this podcast. Surround yourself with Quigliano and take yourself to another level.
Okay.
In Quigliano we trust.
In Quigliano we trust. Okay, right. Let's move on and actually get some fancy football tips out there for game week 3. You know, I don't want to get any more hate mail. I don't think my ego can take it. So Quigliano, let's go straight in with the Gary of the week for game week 3.
Well, we're looking at basing this one on fixtures. Although they had a good result against Liverpool, I think Chelsea played Burnley, and I think Eden Hazard is going to be the Gary of the week. That is where all the points are going to be coming from this week. So, thoughts on that?
JP?
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Yeah, I think... Do you know what, Quigliano? Your tips are phenomenal. I could beat round the bush.
Just to make it interesting, maybe could you have a different opinion, JP?
You've used that on girls before as well, haven't you? I'm sure.
I'm really struggling to. They are spot on. So, yeah, very
okay.
impressed.
I mean, just to play devil's advocate,
devil's
advocate on this, I agree. I think the Chelsea fixture does stand out. I think the Man United fixture also stands out. I think Man City could have a good game against West Ham. But coming back to Chelsea, is Diego Costa not a better shout?
Millsy, I'm so sorry. My door's just going at the moment. My doorbell's ringing. I'm so sorry.
Fantastic.
No one in except
this
me.
is amazing.
So...
This is. Can we just hold the podcast?
One
just
second.
Find out. Can you take everything with you? I want to hear this conversation.
Now.
How you doing? Oh, Steve, how you doing?
I thought you could
get him on. Get Steve on.
Just put that down.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
This is brilliant. I mean, he hasn't even muted.
I was under the impression Joe wasn't allowed to answer the door to strangers, but
He's
just gone ahead and done it anyway.
So, Quigliano, I'm going to ask you, Diego Costa, is he not a better shout?
Well, he's down as a side tip, so you've jumped the gun there. Well, I think he is. I think he's equally as good a shout. I just think Hazard is explosive. Mm-hmm. We're seeing penalties being picked up. Hazard has responsibility for those. And I think that's the type of fixture that where previously he's a bit of a bully type player. When he plays against a weaker team, he will step it up another level and have a high points haul. And I think this is a week where we're going to see that.
Okay, I like that, and I do think we are going to see the Hazard of old this season. So good stuff. And let's move on to the Xabi.
So the long shot, this is obviously a massive punt. So if you're choosing the long shot, that's because you're probably chasing... So not necessarily one that I would 100% back, but potentially Benteke as a long shot. Gone to Palace. There's a reason why Liverpool spent 30 million on him, and a reason why Palace have spent almost as much. He's a goal scorer. I think that Palace team has some good attacking threats that we're whipping the ball in, and I think Benteke is someone that we're reaping the rewards of that move. So it's a long shot, but if you've got the stomach for it, Christian Benteke.
Yeah, good price as well. So like that Quigliano. And the Delia, who are we missing at the moment?
Personal shout out. Schlongi, old Shane Long. He's been missing now 2 games. He's down as my cheap third striker. And he is bringing me 0 rewards. And due to a glitch at the minute, I mean, I'm hoping it's not permanent, but the FPL app has got a switch my Aguero captain to Shane Long. But I'm hoping that's going to be sorted out.
It is a glitch. I think that Interestingly, Fantasy Premier League have created a decent Twitter account this season themselves, and they did tweet this morning to say that it is a glitch, they're aware of it and they're working hard on it. Not the best start from them either, I suppose. So, got any side tips for us? You've alluded to it already.
There's a few side tips. So these are just thick and fast. Just players to look out, have a look at, consider. So I've grouped this as a little returning players that had that long European Cup or have just been off and not had as much game time, so have been rested. Ozil got a few minutes at the weekend. Think he's going to be coming back. I think that becomes a definite option in an Arsenal team that hasn't really done too much at the minute. Lukaku, I think. He got a second half appearance, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he came on in the first half, actually, yeah.
Or first half. I think Lukaku, again, at someone at 9 million, he's a potential second striker if you're not going for the Aguero-Ibrahimovic combo. I can hear JP rumbling in the background.
Oh, he's back. I'm
going to carry on.
Hello.
Have you got Steve with you?
We're midway through something here, JP, so...
Sorry. The levels of apology I cannot begin to describe, boys.
I mean, it's all false. It's all false apology.
In my defence, that was completely unexpected.
Well, who was it?
Well, it was someone that's meant to be coming at 8:30 to 9 o'clock.
So what have you done? Made him wait outside?
Yes. Millsy, it's the podcast.
I mean, I like the fact that someone might be searching for this, thinking I need a professional operation, someone that's going to help me do well in fantasy football.
The number 1 and number 2 Fantasy Premier League podcast is rated by Google. Answer the door to some random guy called Steve. Brilliant.
I am sorry. Where do we need to start again from, or do you need to just get...
No, that's it.
Mate, we're carrying on. We've not stopped.
Oh, this is all in there. Okay.
That's all in, yeah. Whole conversation.
Well,
we heard you go to the toilet as well. So anyway, let's carry on. So Quigliano, side tips.
Well, provided he's not injured, Payet, another person returning, is an option, and Giroud, striker at Arsenal. Even though I think Arsenal they don't look like they're looking lacking of confidence a little bit. So I'm not sure whether you want to fill your team with Arsenal players, but. Little category of side tips on return players. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, like it. I think that was always going to be the case, wasn't it, this season with the Euros? And I really like the Benteke shout. Really like the Lukaku shout. I think they're both really good options. I think Lukaku particularly. I do worry for Crystal Palace. I think they've registered hardly any shots on goal in their first 2 games. And yes, Benteke is going to make a difference, but they've got to get that supply to him. I think it was Delaney that was saying in the media, it's all well and good buying him, but we've got to get service into him. Whereas Lukaku and Everton, first of all, Koeman's already come out and said that Lukaku is guaranteed to start next weekend. So that sort of puts that doubt away. And their fixtures over the next 4 or 5 game weeks are excellent. And I think the addition of Balassi to that is just going to make them even more explosive up front. And I think you're going to see I think almost what Klopp's done at Liverpool, or what certainly he did in the first game of the season. I think that's the sort of thing Koeman's trying to instill. I think there's a lot of pace up there now that you didn't have before, and I think Barkley and Deulofeu are also going to benefit from that. So I like those shouts, Quigliano, I do indeid. JP, your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with those. I think for me...
He's not heard half of them, but yeah.
The first ones were the best.
I'm going on the ones that I agree with.
So I had Paul Gascoigne down was one of those. Are you sure you're happy with that, yeah?
No. I tell you what, though, Everton are exciting now. I think Koeman will bring out the best. Yannick, like you say, Balassi's a good signing. He's an assist king, isn't he? He's the kind of player that will set people up like Lukaku. He'll get balls into the box for him. So Lukaku is a good shout. The only issue with that is obviously affordability on that third striker. If you do have Zlatan and Aguero, which I'm sure that 50% plus people probably do now. So just question that a little bit. That's the only thing I'd say.
Okay. So another little category of side tips here. I've gone for the cheap third striker. So probably if you are going for that, or maybe you're just looking for that somebody to save a bit of cash to maybe invest in midfield, I think the options we narrowed it down to were Gray of Burnley. Some choice tweets out there. Are you sure he's not been heckling Quigliano? Actually, he might have been somebody that's been writing stuff on the feed.
4 years ago, I think he was. Yeah,
no, never too late. He's gone at Quigliano. Negredo has started positively at Middlesbrough, and Wilson of Bournemouth. I know he hasn't provided anything yet, but then probably haven't had the easiest fixture. So, thoughts on those?
Can I jump in there? Yeah, I mean, Negredo is a great shout. I think I was so surprised when I found out that Middlesbrough managed to purchase, him, to be honest, because seeing him at Man City a couple of years ago, he was absolutely phenomenal there, and I think he's the sort of player that will potentially keep them in that Premier League. He looked brilliant against Sunderland. I know he didn't score, but I think he got 2 assists from what I was watching. His composure was very good. I think he's the one that I personally will be putting in my team as my third striker, actually.
Obviously his price has increased, so he's now 6.7. So that's the only issue there. That does price a few people out. And again, Gray was a personal choice that I made from pre-season. I think his form was good. It's just a tough fixture this week, but you would have said that last week as well. So and Burnley won 2-0 with less than 20% possession, which is just crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I was sweating on that, not having any Liverpool coverage in my team, thinking they're going to turn Burnley over. So maybe my Hazard shout is questionable, but you've touched on something there, Mills. I think some people, this price issue, I've got the trophies to prove it. I don't really.
Watch out, Quigliano's dad will not be happy if you start using ego like that.
Yeah.
He's welcome to. I welcome his feedback. I think it's dangerous to be just transferring players in so early in the week. A man like yourself has been stung like this before, Mills, where you've made that early transfer on a Saturday, just after the deadline, to beat the price rise, and then they get injured midweek or something happens in that game. It's always, I'm wary of just trying to beat that price rise all the time. It's a long season. It is a good time to do it if you ever you're going to chase it, because then you can get like the value and the money added on. But I think you got to be careful just chasing Negredo because the price is going up. Or not just Negredo, any player.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I have been caught foul of that before. What I will say on that is sometimes it does go in your favour. Ibrahimovic was an example for me this week. I put him in early before the price rise. I would not have been able to afford him if I'd have waited. So it is a risk, of course it is. And probably even more of a risk this week, I suppose, because let's just touch on the fact that we've got international break coming up. Is there a case to be made for making no transfers this week?
Well, it depends on your strategy. Mine was always to not make a transfer in that first week anyway. So I've got two up my sleeve. Potentially, if I was desperate, could take that -4 hit and get 3 changes done. So no wild card. Well, yeah, I might be active this week.
I suppose, Millsy, it's entirely dependent on how happy you are with your squad at this current time. If you're happy with the team you've got and you feel like going into this game week you're not going to miss out on some obvious points, then to save up that transfer and maybe get yourself a double the following week. But there are a few people, I imagine, that are a little bit worried about certain players. Again, I go back to, I think it's a must now to have Zlatan and Aguero. If you don't, I think you've got to put them in. So I think it just depends on the squad and how happy you are. But don't hold back on making transfers if you feel like you need to.
Okay, thank you very much, gents. We'll be back right after this with some questions from the fans.
The FantasyFootballTips.co podcast, in association with PremierPunt.com.
Okay, we're back after that short interlude there. Quigliano, you're not happy with me, are you?
You've cut me short. I mean, I've made it my job today to tip every single player in the Premier League so that there can be no backlash. There's a few more, just to quickly rattle them off, and we're not going to analyse these choices, but tips that look quite strong at the minute is the Man United defence. Always under Mourinho, you're confident that the defence is going to be sorted out, and I think there's options there at left back and right back. I'm seeing obviously last week, people who doubled up actually reaped the rewards there, but a dangerous strategy. Lamela is a player for this season. I've backed Eriksen, and I'm worried that I've backed the wrong horse. I think Lamela is going to shine. I think you've got to be looking at one of a quartet of Sterling, Silva, KDB or Nolito as an essential Man City midfielder in your team. We spoke about Costa earlier. I think definite option provided he doesn't get himself sent off.
He could have been sent off twice already, couldn't he? Both of those games, he should have probably had a red card.
I
based
think
on the
he's,
new
he's
rules.
just playing the panto villain. I think he's playing a Quigliano role. He probably goes off the pitch and just get. It's probably lovely. There's a load of charity work behind the scenes, but yeah, Costa is yeah. If you're brave enough, back him. And JP's mentioned Ibrahimovic. I mean, I don't have him, but potentially somebody that has to go in. We will see. Watch this space. I've rattled up the side tips for you there, mate. You can carry on with your show.
Good stuff. Okay. I mean, there is a hell of a lot there. I mean, thank God it's a podcast and not a live show, because at least people can go back and listen again. Maybe that's why we've got so many listeners at the moment. I don't know. Right, I'm gonna go to Twitter. We've had a few questions in. I've had to sort through the ones that were derogatory, but the good ones anyway. The first one, I think this might be a friend of Cliff's, Eddie Hughes. What to do about Vardy? Get rid now, or one last shot at home to Swansea and go easy on Cliff? Yeah. So I don't know why he's put that on, but anyway, the Vardy question. It's a good question. People have put a lot of money into him. He was 10 million at the start of the season, and he's not scored yet. What do you do? Swansea's tempting, isn't it, at home?
Would you mind if I answer this question, having
Well,
contributed?
you are a
almost...
resident Leicester City expert.
I appreciate that. I've also contributed very little so far. So.
Oh, you did go to answer the door for 10
and
minutes.
in fairness, I did go to answer the door. Yeah. No, I think get him out ASAP.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I was a big fan, obviously, last season, as with everyone else. That team has lost its punching power, effectively.
Its ability to finish a sentence.
Correct. Yeah. Well, I was just pausing for suspense, actually. But thank you for interrupting. It's lost what it had before. I think they're going to lack confidence over the next few weeks. I think there's a lot more options that are better than Vardy, so I don't know why you choose him right now. We were speaking about Zlatan Aguero, and then Quigliano rightly mentioned Negredo, as a good option. I think there's Lukaku, there's Costa. There's probably 6 or 7, Millsy, that I think are better than him right now. So why have him? That's my answer.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's enough said on that.
Okay.
Let's go to Robbie Martinson. He wants to know, keep Firmino or go for Barkley?
The reason I haven't got any Liverpool players.
Oh.
Who's breaking in here now?
Is this Quigliano's?
Not me.
It's not me.
Well, it's one of you.
Oh, it's not. I am currently standing in an enclosed room where no one can find me, so it's not me.
Okay, well, that was bizarre. Let's move on.
JP, can you just? There's nobody tied down in there, is there? Just we're all safe there.
No, that would be Millsy.
This has gone terribly wrong.
Yeah.
Keep Firmino or go for Barkley, Quigliano.
Well, I was about to say, I think the only reason I haven't got Liverpool players in it was based on their fixtures. They've had 2 fixtures. And it's not particularly an easy one this weekend. But I'd say keep him. I think keep him. Take the chance. I think Klopp, they're good one week, bad the next, so they're due a good result.
Yeah, away to Spurs, and I think that could be a ping pong type of game. I really do. I think it could be a repeat of the Arsenal game potentially. So it'll probably end 0-0. I think I've got one. I know this comes from DJN at DanNor21. An idea for a T-shirt. I need to beat Quigliano. Let's just put some perspective on that. I was a bit bored over the weekend, gent. So I thought, what can we do to improve fantasyfootballtips.co? What it needs is a T-shirt store.
If you're doing a list of the last things it needs, a T-shirt store might be it. Like somebody reliable with tips, maybe.
Yeah, perhaps. So Anyway, so we've got T-shirts for sale on fantasyfootballtips.co, and actually there are some pretty good ones on there. But so DJN says I need to beat Quigliano. That's his tip.
Is he talking just about fantasy football? There's a lot of hostility out there, and word is I need to beat, as in like just beat him.
It could be. I mean, you are a UFC fan, so maybe he's picked up on that.
Yeah, I like it. Research.
Yeah, there you go. Gents, that's bringing us towards the end of the standard podcast. We're going to go into podcast extra shortly, which if you're a premium member of fantasyfootballtips.co, you will get access to. And we're going to be talking captain picks. Can I just get there was a lot of upset, like we said on Twitter this week. We're going to be here next week, aren't we? Game week 4. There's definitely going to be a pod.
Yes.
We've got a break in between, haven't we? So
We've got plenty of time to prepare. So, plenty of time to get one in. So, gents, it's been a pleasure. We're going to be talking captain picks right after this. If you're not a premium member, we'll see you next time.
FantasyFootballTips.co. #1 for FPL.